Mr. Cryne, thank you. You gave the best years of your life to give the people of Barnsley a club to support. You always had Barnsley FC and its best interests at heart. And now as you look at us from above, know that the supporters of Barnsley will always have you in ours. Rest in peace. You're listening to I Follow with myself, Chris Mason, and Carlo van der Watering on this Patrick Cryne Memorial edition of the Reds Report. It's fair to say that things are quiet. Things are moving on behind the scenes and motoring towards a tribute towards Patrick, which is what we're going to do today, Carlo.
Yeah, definitely. It was. Everybody will have their own sort of story. I was at work in between two appointments in Doncaster, and I sort of read the news and had to take a little walk. And I don't think it's about how often have people seen Patrick, how often have you spoke to him, shook his hand, or had a coffee with him. It's more about every week we talk about, and we talk to fans, which we're going to do today, and they talk about what the club means to them. And well, there wouldn't have been a club, would there? And I think if the legacy you leave behind is a club in the Championship, in the position that we're in, his last sort of gesture towards the club was putting us in the hand of a consortium that by all means have got the goodwill and want to continue how the club was run. It's not just a sad day, it's a really, really sad week, and I think it's just going to take some time for everyone to get over this, Chris.
It certainly is, and we're joined on the line now by Barnsley fan Gary Tedford. Obviously, Gary comes up from Glasgow to watch the Reds. He's been aware of Barnsley FC and the situation the club's found itself in over the years, and obviously the situation it finds itself now in the hands of a new consortium. And everything that you've seen, Gary, and read about and seen on the news when you haven't been down in Barnsley, it's all built towards this whole thing that we've got now as a club, and it's all down to Patrick, isn't it?
Good afternoon, lads. Yes, it's all down to Patrick. Just like to say, obviously, pass my condolences on to his family and stuff, James, his wife, Jean and stuff, before we carry on. But yeah, it's all down to Patrick. I think it's just heartbreaking. It was one of the things where we knew it was coming, and it doesn't make it any easier,
No. It certainly doesn't, Gary. And when you see the tributes pouring in, it's very rare to see such an outpouring from supporters, isn't it, towards one single man?
Yeah, well, more so I've seen a lot on Twitter as well. I know rivalry with clubs and stuff, especially Yorkshire clubs, but even like ex-players and people that used to play for Barnsley before Patrick's time. I mean, it's great. It must be so heartwarming for the family, to see all these tributes coming in to people so far afield that never actually met the man who was involved in Barnsley before him in the club. So it must be good for them to see that as well,
Yeah, definitely. Gary, obviously you are associated with the Addersley Reds, the supporters group that Roy and Paul run. I think one of my sort of earlier memories when Patrick stepped more into the daylight was a few seasons ago now, when we were on a run where we couldn't buy points for coffee or toffee, and I believe it was the then chief executive and Patrick that went to see everybody at the Addersley Reds. It's remarkable, isn't it? Because you don't hear of many clubs in the Championship or whichever level where the owner and the chief exec and the sort of has so much close contact with the supporters.
Well, I don't live in there for that. We've obviously been up here, but the lads talk about it, and it's very well, as you say, people going. I think Ben done a lot as well for that with Patrick, but as you say, no, you wouldn't get any club, a big club doing that, you know what I mean? There's no way you would see that. One of my ones was we played Fleetwood a couple of seasons ago, and we were in the side stand right at the back, and he was in one of the boxes, and he actually opened the box, came out and spoke to a couple of the Addersley Reds lads that I was with, and went back in, and you wouldn't get that either, like left what he was doing with his directors and came out and said hello and went back in again. Just the man, that's just what the man done, it was really refreshing to see.
What do you think, as a fan, should be the legacy of Patrick Cryne with Barnsley FC?
Well, the legacy is going to be the club for me. He's as I said, I posted on Twitter the other day, and I got a lot of feedback on it. Not very many men in his last dying days would do what he done. He made sure that the club was going to be in the right hands, past everything. He'd done his best that he could, instead of just doing what he had to do and spending time with his family. For me, that was just unbelievable.
Absolutely. Gary, thank you very much for taking the time out to speak to us. Are you down for the Fulham match?
No, well, unfortunately, I'm still trying at work just now. We've been at Villa last week, and obviously we've got Sheffield Wednesday next week as well, so I'm trying to kind of sort it. But I know that the Adams with Reds lads, we've kind of got flowers and stuff being sent to the club to be put down, so hopefully I can get down. If not, then I'll just need to do my bit and pay my respects back up here.
Yeah, definitely. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Cheers, Gary.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers.
And we're back on the Reds Report. Joining us now from the Supporters Trust is Ray Brammer. Ray, thanks for giving us your time this afternoon.
No problem, lads.
Ray, obviously, the first thing we want to ask people about the news of Patrick is, one question Carlo's just asked Gary is, what's the legacy for you personally that you think that Patrick leaves behind for everybody?
I think basically, he saved the club, didn't he? I mean, back in those dark days, anything could have happened. And I think, what on earth would we have done without a football club? I mean, he saved us from extinction, really, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly did. Now, obviously, as a supporters trust, I suppose especially over the last few years and getting to know you as a fellow sort of supporter liaison as well, there's been plenty of fan engagement meetings where Patrick attended. What was he like from a supporter's point of view to deal with? Because it's not often, isn't it? And I've said it to Gary as well, and you probably hear me say it 4 or 5 times during this special. There's not many supporters clubs that can actually directly deal with the owner, is there?
No, I mean, he was always available to us. I mean, as you say, not many fans can say that about their chairman or the owners. We could ring him up. He never said no to a meeting. In fact, it was quite ironical about the last meeting we had back in November. Basically, I was just walking around the ground one day, and I bumped into Patrick. And he was walking around with this chap who obviously he didn't introduce, but it obviously turned out to be Paul Conway. And I just got talking, and Patrick basically said to me, why don't you invite me to any of your meetings now? But obviously we've been very reluctant because of his health to ask him. But, even then, he wanted to, meet the fans again. And so, the rest is history from there on.
What's your first memory of meeting Patrick, Ray?
Well, I've interviewed him, many, many times. He always gave you a straight answer. He was a very quiet man, but very intelligent. And it was very easy to interview because he never said yes or no. He always elaborated on that. To some points, basically, I wondered whether I'd ever get the mic back.
He was a very intelligent man as well, and he never really, he never ducked any questions, did he? He was very open and very honest. I remember, I think it was a supporters trust meetings you actually did in Redferns on an evening, and he wasn't the sort of owner that went for the questions and then he left, because afterwards he always had time for people to sign something or take a photo or just have 5 minutes with the fans.
Yeah, he never said no to anybody, really. And I think he did have his critics on social media from time to time, but I thought most of that, it was just from the fans' frustration, really. And not many people actually met him would then sort of say that, they didn't understand where he was coming from and what the problems were.
It's definitely... looking forward... Well, we don't like looking forward in these circumstances. Fulham on Saturday at 3:00. The 66 minutes. We've already spoken and done some interviews with Fulham and their supporters group. I know the answer, but what is it you'd like to see on 66 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is the minute that people always look to. It's very difficult because, on the one hand, we certainly want to show our appreciation for Patrick, but we all know he was a very private person. And from that point of view, I wouldn't say he wouldn't want it, but at the same time, we've got to show our appreciation, and especially also to Jean and James, that they fully understand what Patrick meant to the club and to us.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree. We're doing it because we want to show our appreciation. It's maybe not something that he wanted to do, and I know people are coming up with lots of ideas what we should be doing, but I think we need to give the family time to get over the loss of not only a fantastic custodian, but somebody's husband, somebody's dad, and I'm sure in time, more tributes will follow.
Yeah, I'm sure there will.
Ray, thanks for giving us your time. Absolute pleasure speaking to you, and we'll see you on Saturday. Thanks a lot, Ray.
No problem, Lance. Anytime.
Cheers. We're back on the Reds Report Patrick Cryne Memorial Edition of the Reds Report this week, which will be available on YouTube. Carlo wanted as well for everybody to get their ears around when it's available from the lads through the media team. We've just spoken to Ray Brammer. Joining us now is Phil Hall. First off, Phil, cheers for joining us, mate, today.
No problem. To be of help.
Thanks a lot, Phil. Obviously, the same thing we've asked everybody else is Patrick leaves behind a legacy at Barnsley that everybody can see when they walk up the car park now because it's still here. Is that the sole legacy that we should all remember Patrick Cryne for?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, the fact that we've still got a football club, because back in 2003, 2004, it looked a bit dicey, didn't it? And he came in. He was always the quiet man, but he came in quietly behind the scenes, put a lot of his own money in, and changed the club's fortunes around completely.
One thing I forgot to ask Ray about this, and Gary as well. How much of a big step was it? Was it 2 years ago when Lee Johnson was in charge to completely change the ethos of the club, Phil? And now that's taken shape, the new ethos of the recruitment and everything. Patrick spearheaded that. That's another legacy that he leaves behind as well, isn't it?
It is, because, I mean, initially, for the first 10 years or so, he really wanted to keep in the background, and then, obviously, he felt things weren't quite going according to plan. He changed the whole ethos of the club, as you say, and it worked wonders. Look what happened in 2016.
Yeah, definitely. Phil, is it, besides obviously the passing of Patrick, is it the end of an era as well? Because every home match and almost every away match, our owner was there, and he was a local lad, and he was a fan as well, wasn't he? He was a fan before he became our custodian. And whilst I'm sure everybody will agree we are in good hands with the new consortium that took over just last month, is it the end of an era not seeing our owner sort of every home and away match in the box with his family around him?
Yeah, it is to a certain extent, but I mean, I think one of the lasting things that Patrick did was put the club in the hands of new owners who he was quite confident would take them forward. Obviously, the Cryne family remains about a 20% stakeholder, I think. James Cryne, obviously, involved day to day. So there's still some input from the family, and I think Patrick would just be glad that he got it all sorted before the inevitable happened.
How important, Phil, was it then that obviously James has retained a part on the board as well at the club? That's so important, isn't it, for the club moving forward?
It is. I mean, it's a 20% stake, so by no means a controlling interest. But the fact that the family's still involved, that's what Patrick would have wanted. That's what the fans would have wanted,
Yeah.
If we were to ask, it's probably not a fair question, but I'm going to ask you anyway, Phil. We know that Patrick was quite sort of like a quiet man. He was a reluctant custodian, he called himself often. And as a custodian, sometimes you lose the sight that you can be a fan, because obviously you said himself, he pumped a lot of money into the club. For the fans that might have never ever spoke to Patrick or have had the pleasure of meeting Patrick, how do you think Patrick would want to be remembered?
I think he just wants to be remembered as a fan. First and foremost. Forget the fact that he was a millionaire, he got loads of money and he put a lot of money into the club. First and foremost, he was a local man, he was a fan of the club and the community, and that's how he'd like to be remembered.
And how would you remember him, Phil?
Very quiet. I never actually met him. I sort of passed him quite a few times on match days and just nodded in acquaintance, but I never actually met him. He was a very reserved, quiet man, that's for sure.
Yeah, he certainly was. Phil, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. Thanks for giving us your time and giving us your thoughts on the sad news that we received this week. Cheers, Phil.
No problem.
Carlo, Fulham at home at the weekend. We're getting towards the end of January, still only that victory of Sunderland to speak of in the league on New Year's Day. How important are the home games now for Barnsley? Obviously, we've had the sad news, but the football is still taking place on Saturday. How important are the home games going to be now as we get towards the end of the season? And how important is it that you look at the mini table that we're sort of in now? Because you look at a Barnsley win doesn't move you up the table very much, and there's going to be a big gaps appearing a couple of places above. How important now is it that Barnsley, if we're honest, are they 19th now in the table? If they stay 19th, Brucey bonus surely for Barnsley now.
Yeah, it has to be. And, there's nothing wrong about talking the Fulham match. If Patrick was here, he'd want to talk about the Fulham match, wouldn't he? No, you know what? You're completely right. The home matches are really important, and I suppose we can combine the 2 points by saying, it is about time that we create an atmosphere, and we know home wins and goals have been shortened. Paul, everybody is aware of that, and I'm sure behind the scenes they're working on it, bringing people in. We need to start creating an atmosphere, and if we can do it on the 66th minute, because our custodian or our owner has passed away, we should be doing it from the first minute to the last minute, and I do believe it makes a difference. Villa match last weekend, I was there, obviously down and out, half time. Enormous support from the Reds when we're down, and I'm not saying that caused the team to put a performance in the second half that they did, but I do think it makes a difference. And if we support our club, then let's not wait for them to ignite us into support. Let's do that from the beginning. And I think as supporters, we've got an important role to play. Fulham only scored 6 at the weekend.
Only. So they're playing well again, aren't they, Carlo? Exactly. To be honest, they're very much finding their feet as the season gets towards the nitty gritty.
We sat here in this room a couple of months ago talking about Fulham, and last year Fulham to me was the best team. We played home and away. Okay, this time 2-1, both sides had chances and missed chances, and it was a wonder goal, wasn't it, on the right wing that sort of flew over into the goal. We're at home, and we need to start like we did the second half. We need to start like the Clappers. We need to put our game onto Fulham rather than countering what they're offering to us.
When you look at last season, we spoke to Paul a few times on this very show, and he said, because we often said to Paul, fans like to see home wins, Paul, and the answer every time was, we're not bothered where the wins come from. And last season, that very much was a fair point to make, because we were winning on the road. Completely. This season, it's a complete opposite.
Yeah.
And that's why I do believe that starting with Fulham on Saturday, this isn't another game. You see it a lot on Twitter where people say, it's a gimme game, this one, like the Wolves game was a gimme, and we weren't going to get anything out of Aston Villa. In your opinion, we've got to start winning games starting Saturday, haven't we? There's no longer can we say, I'd take a point Saturday. We've got to win. We've got to start winning football matches.
Playing at home against Burton is no easier than playing at home against Fulham, Sunderland, Birmingham, Aston Villa or whoever.
Not at this time of the season when the pressure's on.
Exactly. I dare say that, February's a crucial month. When we play Birmingham again, we play Burton again, I think we play Bolton again.
We play Sheffield Wednesday.
Hull
City.
And there's a lot of clubs in or around us that we play. We need to make the home advantage count. Sometimes I think the only home advantage is the crowd, and especially if it's Fulham. I don't know how many Fulham are bringing, but, we shouldn't be outsung by 8, 9 or 1,100 supporters, however many they bring, when there's 9,000 Barnsley supporters. And I think we've got a role to play, and the wins need to come. Kiefer Moore got his first start. I'd like to see him back in again, because defensively he does his work. But
he's very mobile. He's very mobile
for a big lad. Love seeing him play, and it'd be great for him, wouldn't it, to get his first goal. To get his first goal on Saturday. There are no easy matches in this league. Paul said it. Everybody said it. Mm-hmm. And 3 points is 3 points, and it's up to us to earn them.
Are we in a position where you feel we can cherry pick games, Carlo, or is it a case of or are you in the position you sit there now as a fan of the club? Do you want points on boards, or do you sit there and say, well, there's that game there, and there's that game there, and that game there? What's your view on that?
Now we need points on the board wherever they come from, and let's face it, at 3:00. There's 3 points on offer against Fulham, and that's how we need to. You can't. Some of the clubs, you said it before, we're looking at the transfer period. Things are changing, or there's still people obviously incoming in Oakwell. Other teams might strengthen, and that changes the dynamic of that team. Paul said in an interview a couple of weeks ago, it's about the here and now. We're facing a Fulham side that scored 6 at the weekend. We conceded 3. Very much our own mistake. I agree with Paul. I think organisationally we looked all over in the first 10 minutes, and Villa swallowed us up and spat us out and scored 2 in no time.
And took the foot off the gas, didn't they? They won the game.
Yeah, completely. And I think it's down to us. We're at home. We need to impose our game, not always counter what other clubs have got. And I'm no tactician. I'm not a head coach or anything. But it's about us playing the way we play best. And, you know, at one point we looked and we thought we had a settled back four because we were drawing and we were not conceding as many goals. But then you look at what happened and the silly mistakes. And I suppose they need to be cut out because a lot of times this year or this season we've heard Paul in the post conference say, you know, when people are not doing the jobs, you can't train on that. You can train all week, but if people are not doing the jobs,
in both boxes,
exactly, then you know we're not going to get the points.
Danny Pilios has come in, a left back. Were you surprised at the signing of a left back?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know what goes off behind the scenes. And the first thing you do, as I suppose many other people do, you go on social media, find out where has he played. Forest fans seem, you know,
they'd have had him back, wouldn't they?
Yeah, very, very. They were impressed with him.
The right age, though, and a good contract length, 2.5 years sees him here till what 20? That's 2020, is it?
Yeah, and you know, you think, you know, it's a good deal. Let's hope it works out. Cavare came in early in the season, and we did hear from him for a long time. Now you see him playing, you think, actually, you know, that's a decent player, a bit of a prospect. Let's hope it's the same with this one. Rumours about a French player joining us, which obviously has not been confirmed, so we don't know yet. So we'll wait till news on that.
He's bringing height in, isn't he? Cavare's tall, and Pilios isn't no slouch.
No.
So you look across that back line, and Ethan Pinnock's tall, and Liam Lindsay's tall.
Yeah.
We said we sat at the Wolves game, and we went, well, he's a big lad.
Exactly.
There was 2 players out of the 11, and that's including the goalkeeper, because we didn't realise how big he was in person. We went, they're big lads, and is that the thing now in the Championship, Carlo, that a lot of teams seem to be having a lot of big lads in their sides?
There's something about being physical, isn't there? There's something about being physical. And you said it at Wolves. We looked and went, look at him. But then you look at, we bring in Kiefer Moore and John Terry. If you remember, it was the 130th anniversary, wasn't it, when we played Villa here in front of the telly? And John Terry,
he got his picnic basket out, didn't he, that day?
Yeah. Not like that with Kiefer Moore because he caused problems. And I think the height, we've got some fantastic. Tom Bradshaw, I'll never knock Tom Bradshaw because he works his socks off. But sometimes isolated up front was very little what he could do. And I think with bringing Kiefer in, that dynamic has changed as well. And I think it is. When you go, you know, you do the handshake at 3 o'clock with the opposing team. And when there is a bit of height and physicality, I think we need it. I really do.
Quick score prediction for Saturday then, Carlo, from yourself. What are you thinking?
Well, I just...
I mean, after everything we've just said about needing wins on the board.
I did an interview yesterday with one of the podcasts and I put a score draw. Listen, my emotional side, and I have been emotional, you know I have this week, my emotional side, I'd like nothing more than 3 points for Patrick. The match, as hard as that sound, is one of a season of matches, and we need to win as many as possible. The position we find ourselves in is so my heart is saying, let's win it for Patrick. My head is saying
we need to win.
We need to win, and maybe the way Fulham are in, at least a point, because we need at least a point now on, because we could get, you said it earlier, we could get sucked into that relegation battle, and that's something that we don't need.
Quick Fulham preview we've just done there, and we're going to close out the show by speaking to a current member of staff at Barnsley Football Club, former player of Barnsley Football Club for many years, and a man who probably knew Patrick Cryne better than anybody really that's currently at the club. Joining us on the line now is Bobby Hassell. Bobby, cheers for giving us your time this afternoon.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, guys.
Cheers. Bobby, on a personal level, how's this news hit yourself?
Well, we're obviously devastated that Patrick's obviously passed away. I think everyone knew obviously the situation, that he had terminal cancer, but he's obviously gone a lot sooner than we were told. I only spoke to him 2 weeks ago and he sounded okay on the phone, and so it came as a big shock to get the news Monday morning.
We spoke earlier in the show about Patrick was a fan of Barnsley FC before he became the custodian of Barnsley FC. You had an illustrious career as a player, and one of my sort of earliest memories where I I was in the stand for your testimonial, and I'll never remember. I'll never ever forget. You walked on. I believe it was with your children, and he had a shirt that was framed, I believe. But he didn't just give you the shirt. You got a hug as if it was your favourite uncle, your dad. There was a special relationship not only between Patrick Cryne and the club, but also in looking after the people that had done well for the club. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. That day was a special day for myself, and obviously to get a hug off Patrick meant a lot, because it wasn't so much of an affectionate person. When he spoke to everything was on a personal and professional level. So it was a great touch from Patrick that day to give me that hug, and he thanked me for everything I'd done for the club. And he was very loyal to staff members and players that had been very loyal to the football club. He had an ethos: if you're loyal to people, you stick by them. And that's a trait I have myself, which is obviously probably one of the reasons I got on with Patrick so well. A lot of our core values were quite similar.
Is that very fitting then, Bobby, that he's left the club in the hands that he has now since the consortium took over? That's just Patrick in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it was one of his big priorities to make sure the club was looked after him going. I'm really glad that his son and family will still be involved in some capacity, keeping 20% of the shares and having an input and carrying on that legacy for Patrick. But yeah, his love was his family, and his love was the football club in the town. And I think the club obviously owe Patrick and his family gratitude, a debt really, from when he took over where it was financially. All the money he obviously pumped in himself over the years. And it's been a really successful 14, 15 years of Patrick being involved with the club, with him, a couple of promotions, and obviously FA Cup semi-final, and they won the St Johnson's Paint, and most recently with the recruitment model he set up with his son, which has reaped rewards in terms of financial rewards in the last 2 years.
You know him better than others. The fans want to show their gratitude against Fulham, and the Fulham fans are fully on board by, as we do, shining a light for Patrick on the 66th minute. Is it fair in saying? I mean, that's what the fans want to do, and I think that's a great gesture. The legacy is almost threefold. The legacy are the memories we have and the good times we've had under Patrick's custodianship. The legacy is the fact that we can drive up Grove Street and there is still an Oakwell. But it's maybe the biggest legacy, the fact that he made that big change. He wanted the DNA of our club changing, and that's something that the new consortium took on board, and hopefully that will stand us in good stead for years and years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. They were big on the culture and the playing philosophy and the recruitment philosophy, and hopefully the new owners come in and just carry that on and enhance it, but don't change too much of it, because I think it's proven to be successful in the last few years. And obviously with all the new technology coming out now on certain things, I'm sure they'll enhance that, but the core value of it started obviously with Patrick and his family. And our staff, the last thing I said to him is, we'll continue to work hard for you, Patrick, and continue to honour your name at the football club, which he knew we would, and he thanked us for. And that's what I'll continue to do within the academy now as academy manager. He always had a vision of having 11 homegrown players on the pitch. And I'll never say never. It seems an impossibility to do that from having 11 Barnsley players playing, but that's the goal and that's the vision, and I'll try and continue that as best as I can.
And I don't think there's a better person to pursue that dream than you, Bob.
Certainly isn't. Bobby, what would be your lasting memory then of Patrick?
Just his loyalty, really. And he's done an awful lot for me and my family over the years. People won't understand, and some I won't disclose, but he was extremely loyal to me. He had a soft spot for me. He certainly had a faith in God as well, which obviously I have, which I say we had a lot in common. So my abiding memory of him is he's done a great amount for me, and utmost respect for him. And, as myself, I loved him dearly. Not just as the owners of the club, but he became a friend. Not a close friend, because Patrick never let anyone that close to him, but in terms of a player or staff, I probably got as close to him as most people would.
Excellent. Bobby, thanks for giving us your time today and giving us your memories of Patrick, and all the best for the rest of the season with your job at the academy. Thanks a lot, Bobby. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers, guys.
Bobby.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.
No better way to finish this memorial edition of the Reds Report than hearing there from Bobby Hassell. You know, he said he called Patrick a friend, and you know what, friends sometimes are the family that you can't choose, and when you listen to what Bobby had to say there, it's a fitting end to the show.
Yeah, it is, and I think from our point as well, I think there's no harm in pointing out, Chris, that under that change in the club and the DNA, Patrick was always very open in speaking with us. We did a 2-hour interview. I suppose we sat here because it's something that the club backed, and I'm sure he had a voice in that as well. And I just want to say to everybody that's going on Saturday, and we wrote in the poem that we wrote out, it doesn't matter if you seek comfort by praying, whether you shine a light, whether you want to shout his name, whether you want to stand and clap. Everybody will have their own memories of Patrick Cryne, but what we as a group of fans and the fans for the next generation must ensure we do is that the name Cryne will forever be associated with our favourite football club.
And it certainly will be.